What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is September 3rd of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, in less than 10 minutes, I want to go ahead and run through everything you need to know in regards to where we are within the existing cycle, according to Bitcoin, altcoin dominance, and the general data that we have to work with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it, guys. It's a video you guys won't want to miss. Let's start off by taking a look at the big dog itself, Bitcoin. Now, I want to talk about Bitcoin here, not only because it's around 50K, yet again, the big even level here, there's $10,000 intervals, but just talk about the very clear confident side here, guys, which is that we have gone through nothing more than a mid-cycle correction. We had about a 50% plus pullback in Bitcoin's price from 65K down to the $30,000 range. And from there, we've been setting higher lows and higher highs ever since. We've built a nice solidified base here in mid to late August. And it looks like we're about to break up here back past 50K after clearing through all potential resistance points here for Bitcoin and clear back up to 65K and continue on a roadmap higher. But I don't want to just look at Bitcoin here because there's a lot of different things we can analyze throughout the market that are important to analyze. So we'll take a look at some other different elements here. But I want to talk about the general pattern for this cycle, considering the idea of expanding cycles. If we take a look at the last three cycles from bottom to top, we can see that we generally add anywhere from 11 to 13 months. We added 13 months between the first and second cycle and 11 months here. So to meet in the middle and give ourselves an estimate, the general top should be coming in somewhere around 47 months or a 12-month addition from the previous length, right, from bottom to top. And if we go ahead and kind of predict in a rough range here of some of the kind of estimates we could get for the new all-time highs, a really decent estimate of a market where Bitcoin remains relatively strong is $200,000. And we talked about this a little while ago on our Bitcoin roadmap to $200,000 video. And this generally would be a 4x from the existing price range where we're at, right? We'd be seeing a nice multiple range here still for Bitcoin. However, Bitcoin is not going to be the top performer here. Altcoins are going to continue garnering dominance, in my opinion, as we take a look at history. And there's a few different macro factors we have to consider in this. So we'll talk about that as we go throughout the conversation here. Now, in regards to total market capitalization here, when we're including altcoins and Bitcoin, we can also see as well the trend is not only strong for Bitcoin, it is strong for the broader crypto space, as we are just inches away, just a couple $1 billion away from touching back to those all-time highs. We've recovered the vast majority of losses here and have practically doubled market valuation since back here, really just a little over a month ago here. Pretty crazy stuff, right? And again, this is going to be very important to keep in mind as we go through the conversation, because you guys are going to see, Nick, you're talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies adding trillions of dollars of market capitalization. How on earth do you expect that? Well, we just basically doubled in the past month or so in the sense of market capitalization for the entire crypto market. And we've done that multiple times. Just thinking back in March of 2020, we were around, roughly speaking, around $150 billion. We've more than 10x from that point. Right. So crypto markets can make incredible multiples, and valuations are out the wazoo in every other market. So just bear that in mind. We're going about talking about things. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about, I think, a realistic roadmap for altcoins. And that is that we are going to continue on a much more consistent uptrend here versus the kind of parabolic rise that we had back here. We simply just don't have the growth room for valuation growth or market dominance for altcoins that we used to. Doesn't mean that altcoins won't continue to set higher levels on dominance. And along with that as well, it doesn't mean that altcoins can't still have room to grow from the already strong trend that we've had since back here in December of 2020 during peak fear for altcoins. Right. So what we did here that was very important is that we were able to make a previous line of resistance from back here in July 2019 into new support. So it likely means that we're going to be staying on the upper band here. I'll go ahead and get the drawing tool or the polyline tool here just to kind of showcase an example what this could look like, where we generally hold higher lows and higher highs, right? And we could do something along these lines, but I think what's going to be much more realistic is that we will have some more dramatic swings here against the general range that we're at right now, this general support line, right? We'll continue to ride up here, maybe have a parabolic rally towards the close here. Now, I know you guys are probably wondering, why is my target so far out? This is in line with the expanding cycles. You guys may agree or disagree. Either way, the time preference here isn't really what matters. I'm just setting that in there for expectations according to history. Even if it comes earlier or comes later, we're expecting that we're going to be reaching around 75% market dominance. So what is this actually going to look like in the sense of altcoin valuations? Well, let's go ahead and take a look here. The metric we want to take a look at is total 2. This is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. We can see here that in the previous cycle back here where we had the base right before the next kickoff here into 2016 through 2018, We rose here from a general valuation range from a low of 35 million, 50 million. You could take the high here at around 100 million, right? Generally speaking, coming up here towards $500 billion. A phenomenal multiple, right? So if you just want to kind of take the base midline here around $50 million to 500 billion, if you guys do the math here, you're talking about a massive, massive return here, right? And generally taking cryptocurrency markets in this case and 1,000xing them in this case. 1,000x return for the overall altcoin space. Crazy stuff, right? So anyways, you got a massive multiple here for altcoins. But outside of that, we've got another cycle right here that we're going through at the moment. Our general base is somewhere anywhere from around 37 billion and mid-range around 75 billion, roughly around $100 billion for the highs here. Sound familiar? Well, I think we're doing something very similar to history here, right? We had a mid-range here around 50 million. And along with that, we've got a mid-range here around 75 billion, right? I think very, very clearly, and again, I'm not trying to call the absolute top here, say this is the absolute number we have to go for, but I think a very conservative range to shoot for the peak for altcoins is going to be 7.5 billion, right? And now, if we're considering this into mind here, if we're talking about altcoins eventually peaking out at 75% market dominance, well, we can start to get a good idea about where overall market cap might be for this cycle. And again, one thing that's important to note here with how Bitcoin has been performing compared to previous cycles, whereas we usually had most of the price action come later on in a parabolic fashion, later on the cycle, crossing the kind of midline where Bitcoin's price usually wanes around. You can see here that this time around, we've been pressing up higher a lot earlier. And I think similar to what we saw back here in 2013. So what I think we're going to see here is less of a parabolic rally and a much more slow but steady grind here towards 200K, especially considering this is the logarithmic chart. So if you guys are really thinking about this in full valuation terms, right? Or if you're looking at the standard chart, this is again still adding a ton of value here. So we might have a slight delay here, maybe still have a parabolic rally, or we could kick it up earlier and really kind of hold in this band for a long time, starting to face resistance and then have a cool down. Again, we don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but this is going to give us that framework here, the time frame analysis. And if we take a look at the total valuation here, we'd generally be going from a previous all-time high here in the last cycle, around $761 billion, towards a little bit higher than a 10x multiple, towards around $10 trillion. I think that's a good, big, even level to keep out for. Now, again, if you guys do the math here, one thing some of you guys might already be thinking about is when that caught up. So you're calling for Bitcoin to go to $200,000. If you multiply that by the general supply by that time, or roughly what we have today, around 18.8 million to 19 million Bitcoin, you're going to get a market cap that's pressing up there towards $3.5 to $4 trillion. How does that work in the math? Because if you're talking about a total market capitalization at the peak, being in this case, altcoins owning 75% of the market, right? So that'd be $7.5 trillion, and Bitcoin being 4, that doesn't add up. The important thing to denominate here, to consider, is that when we set in this valuation peak in the market, it's likely going to be Bitcoin setting in its peak around that $3.5 to $4 trillion range. And then Bitcoin starting to decline, giving some valuation and room for altcoins to set in their peak slightly after, whether it be a couple weeks after. That's what we've generally seen in history. But that's the general selling point I want to talk about, guys. A $10 trillion market cap for the peak of cryptocurrency valuations. And then afterwards, some wiggle room in this case where you can let altcoins continue to rally up towards a total market capitalization of $7.5 trillion, right? And again, you can see here that according to history, this is actually relatively conservative. The multiples here are much lower than before. If you want to kind of roughly calculate here or just kind of estimate here, again, there's some slight divergences here. We're not going to see exact percentages. No market is going to be that predictable because you always got to consider that there are other people watching this other than us, especially the larger players in this space who will start to take profits. If you were to rough this off at 1,000,000% gain here for the previous rally from bottom to top, roughly speaking, we're doing a 20,000% rally, right? This is 1/50th of what we did before. So again, bearing in mind here, it's relatively conservative overall for the ask of altcoin dominance growing here, total 2 continue to expand. Okay, $7.5 trillion. Now again, I want to emphasize one key point here, guys, which is valuations, as with anything in the world, are going to be out the wazoo. And it doesn't mean that everyone is really $10 trillion rich. An important thing to understand is that when we get towards these valuation ranges, it can be very smart to consider taking profits. Now, to close this off, guys, if you guys are interested in learning about further analysis like this, if you guys really love seeing these kind of long-term time frame charts and analysis of altcoin dominance, etc., you guys can check out the Dash report down below in the description. It's a great way to support the channel, and if you subscribe on an annual basis, you'll get a discount. It's just a great way if you guys are interested in this kind of macro analysis for crypto, as well as other traditional markets. That being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and keep to my word here. Keep the video short. If you like this video, drop a like, consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon. And if you guys want to see more content like this, let me know down in the comments down below. That being said, everyone, have a fantastic day wherever you are, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.